Okay, so this is going to be an overview for chapter or unit 5. And in this overview, I want to talk about what we're going to be doing in this unit. So what I have here is a download of the short story, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So you're going to read the short story first. It's only about 33 pages, and the link is right here. And you can link to the story. So Benjamin Button is a story about a child who was born an old man. Here's a cover of the book when it first came out. It's a short story. It was considered a novella. And so he does his life in reverse. He starts out as an old man and he ends up as an infant. So it takes our imagination into a different place, because we usually think of life in sequential order from baby to old age. But in this story, Benjamin Button is born a 70-year-old man, and he transcends into a child throughout his years. So it's a really interesting story. It's very interesting to read, and I would like you guys to, enjoy this. This is fiction. This is the only fiction that you're going to be reading this semester, and it's not based on any true story or anything like that. It's only based on a short story that F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote. Now, I don't want you guys to confuse this with the movie, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. There is a movie that came out with the same name, and they did take the idea from F. Scott Fitzgerald, except the movie is completely different than the short story. Very different. Even the names of people have changed. The name of the wife, the everything is different. So please do not watch that movie in lieu of reading the short story, because you will be completely wrong. The only thing they really did do when they took that movie, which is with Brad Pitt, they took the title and they took the idea of a baby being born an old man and with a life in reverse, and they rewrote that whole story from their perspective. So I'm only telling you guys this because I know that movie is out there, and I love the movie. It's really wonderful film, but it has nothing to do with this short story. So please keep that in mind, and you do need to read the short story, and here is the link to the PDF file. So some of the things that I want you guys to think about in this short story is, what is the importance of age? What are the similarities of old age and infancy? And how does the family hierarchy surround the idea of respect? So usually we respect our father because our father looks older. We respect our grandparents because the grandparents look older. So the idea is that they've lived a longer life, and that's something that resonates with us. However, what if your grandfather looked younger than you? And so this is what's happening in this story with Benjamin Button. And I want you guys to note how he is treated in this story as his life progresses from infancy, which is an old man, into his old age, which is an infancy. So it's a life in reverse. And it's a very interesting story. And so in this chapter, there's an overview of the short story here. There's a video. And I did include some biographical information about F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote the story, that might be of interest to you. And I also included ideas to consider. And there's 2 book reviews on the short story of Benjamin Button. So please read those and take good notes for those. And this is also a video of the Jazz Age and the lost generation of writers, because F. Scott Fitzgerald was born, I'm sorry, he wrote in the Jazz Age. He's what is considered a Jazz Age writer. And that's the 1920s. And this is also the stock market crash of 1929. So this information might be very helpful for you in the coming parts about it. I have also included the audiobook of Benjamin Button for you, so you can listen to it while you read your short story. If some of you like to listen while you read, this is a really good way to do it. So this is the audiobook for you. And so I want you guys to think about the law of cause and effect in relation to the curious case of Benjamin Button. So here is a video that talks about the law of cause and effect, and it's explained for you that you can relate to this book. And I have made a Venn diagram comparing and contrasting old age and infancy. And this is a Venn diagram which uses two circles like so, and you look at differences. So the differences are on the outer part and the similarities are here. So I'd like you to make a Venn diagram and add to this. You could do this on a sheet of paper and just draw two circles for you to think about the ideas that are going on in this story. And so I have some questions for you about the role of women in the short story. So when I ask you these questions, I'm not going to collect them, but I'd like you to do it on a sheet of paper and think about it for yourself. And it may help you with your essay. And I also put the picture of this head, and so I think you can take a screenshot of this and print it out. And so here's when Roger Button learns that his newborn child is an old man, he declares, "What will people say? What must I do?" Think about what's going on in his head. So here's an example. What statements and words would you include? So I'd like you to print this out, and I would like, or you could just do it on a sheet of paper. What do you think is going on in Roger Button's head when he discovers that his son looks like an old man? And so you could put words like shocked or worried, whatever things that you can think of yourself. I don't want to give you any other ideas, because I don't want to infringe on your thoughts. But what's going on in his head as the father, where his son looks older than him, may be some curiosity for you. And then here's a list of the characters. So really pay attention to this, because if you watch the movie instead of reading the short story, none of these characters are in the movie except Benjamin Button. So please keep that in mind. And then here's some themes, symbols, and historical context of the story. And here's a link on how to read fiction and how to help you understand fiction better. And so the next few pages talk about the elements of fiction. So this is plot, this is character, point of view, and setting. So those last pages that we looked at are very important in looking at short story. This is a TED Talk on identity and how do you define identity. So so I want you to watch this YouTube clip and about identity, and think about one of the characters that are related to the curious case of Benjamin Button. How is identity identified in that short story? And then here's the power of family relationships. So in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, there's a lot of um, experiences with family relationships that are going on. And again, it goes back to that question that I had in the beginning about the hierarchy of family. So we respect our parents because they're older than us, they're bigger than us. But what if our parents looked younger than us? What happens then? Does the family dynamic change? And I want you to think about what's happening in the short story and how the grandson treats his grandfather when his grandfather looks younger than him, and what his relationship with him is like, and the father as well, and what's going on with the wife and the husband as the wife is looking older and the husband is getting younger. Benjamin Button gets younger while his wife gets older, and what he does. So I'd like you to look at the power of family relationships in relation to this story. And so here is a discussion for the story. And here's another discussion. And here's a quiz. And here's how to write a short story review, because you're going to eventually work towards writing a short story review of the short story, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and that's going to be your essay. So you're only going to have one item on this, and that is going to be your short story that I asked you to write, and that's what we are going to do. I'm sorry, the short story that I asked you to read, and that's what you're going to do. So that is module number 5. I hope you got something out of that, and that's my overview for you. So enjoyed the story. It's very interesting to read, and that's going to be module number 5.